partnerships in Ghana. We're training teachers.
President Bush now continuing with his regularly scheduled news conference with the president of Ghana, interrupting his news conference for remarks about the economy upon news about Lehman Brothers and also about Merrill Lynch over the weekend. We've got Erin Barnett, who covers the markets for CNBC. She's at the New York Stock Exchange for us this morning. Erin, we heard the president talk about adjustments in the financial markets and talking about how the administration is working to reduce disruptions. First of all, the word adjustments was obviously one he used twice. How important is it for the president to use that particular word? And also, what is the government doing, do you think, behind the scenes to make this thing more stabilized?
It's a great point, Ann, to talk about his use of the word adjustment as well as disruption. Certainly that is what the market has undergone this weekend, perhaps more so than any weekend in the history of American finance, and also over the past 6 months. 3 of the 5 investment banks in this country now either no longer exist, whether they are bankrupt or whether they are being bought by other companies. So certainly adjustment is the word of the day. I think, though, Ann, the headline here is that you've got the White House on board with the Federal Reserve, with the Secretary of the Treasury, Henry Paulson, and with 10 of the biggest banks in the world, actually, it's not beyond the United States, working together to try to minimize the disruption that we have seen. And that is really the key level here, because when you look at the market, and I'm looking up, we were off about 300 points. We're now only down 180. And, Ann, the takeaway from that is it could be a whole lot worse. And this is proof that this unified front, at least so far, appears to be having its intended effect.
That said, the day is not over, and the market does not close, I think, until about 4 o'clock this afternoon. The president talked about flexible. He was confident that the capital markets are flexible and resilient. He's sending, obviously, a message, and the question will be, how will the market respond to this? At what point do you think we are out of the woods in terms of our worry about the impact of this news about Lehman Brothers and Merrill Lynch on the broader economy, on the markets today in addition?
Well, Ann, if I had the answer to that question, I could be president. But, I mean, not to make light of it, no one really knows the answer to that question. 2 important things to tell you, though. We did just see the press conference between Bank of America CEO Ken Lewis and John Thain, the CEO of Merrill Lynch. Bank of America, of course, in a sudden deal which started Saturday morning buying Merrill Lynch. Ken Lewis is saying this in terms of when this might be over. The U.S. economy likely not going to start recovering until the end of next year, and that a lot of these big billion-dollar write-downs that we keep seeing in the headlines could continue well into 2010. So no end in sight in terms of the overall economy, but perhaps in terms of some of the crisis, there are some issues still to be felt. And the headline on that front that I would bring to your attention, Ann, today is AIG. It's not Lehman, it's not Merrill, it's AIG. It's the world's biggest insurer. Shares have been plunging, and the fate of that company, as of now, is issue number 1 for the markets.
Well, in fact, then that brings a broader question, because as you've been reporting all this morning, there are a couple now of these kinds of financial institutions that are still standing after now 3 that have been dissolved as a result of these financial issues regarding the credit crisis. So I guess the question there is, sort of how people should be responding to those particular banks. Are we worrying that the foundation of our house has been so rattled so far, or I guess I'm trying to sort of understand for the economy, what would be the best thing that we should take away from the events over the course of the last 4 days? Those of us who don't trade with stocks, but who are really worried about the financial future of this country.
I think there's two takeaways, and the first one, Ann, is I would say it's always better to be safe than sorry. And if you have just a bank account, if you have a simple brokerage account, if you have an insurance policy, it's worth making a phone call and just confirming that your downside is covered. And in the vast majority of cases in this country, it will be. But that's just prudent, and it's something that everybody should do. In terms of your bigger question, I think there's a way to tell that story in the market, too. This economy is one of the most resilient economies in the world. When you look at new business formation, when you look at a lot of the strength that the American economy has, it is, in a sense, the best that the world has to offer. And when you look at these big companies that are facing crisis, they are facing crisis. Their stocks have plunged.